The biggest name.
You're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah, Jensen, thanks for being with us. I thought we just got April Fools. Annapolis, I think this calls for the breaking news sounder, my guy. I mean, my heavens. I don't know if there's been bigger news today in the world of sports, man. Let's
checking the spelling on it is Ian Rappaport, and it is the rap sheet, and it is verified on Twitter. This is true.
Tell me what you got over here from the NFL breaking backup quarterback news desk.
According to Ian Rappaport, NFL writer, the Colts are planning to bring potential future Hall of Fame quarterback Philip Rivers into their facility Tuesday to work out to see if he may join their practice squad.
Okay.
Rappaport says this is real. Daniel Jones' season is over. Riley Leonard will start, but Rivers may be an option. By the way, Riley Leonard will start, but he has a knee injury as well.
So he's the
they're gonna bring in Philip Rivers.
When? Okay, I know he officially retired in 25, but that's not when he stopped playing. His last game was played in 2020, JJ. He was already old as the hills back then.
Coaching high school football.
I know.
Right? Like, isn't his son playing high school football?
Just between you and I.
He's 44.
Oh, that's terrible because I was thinking he was way older than me, and he's my age. Let me ask you this. How close to 3 bills is he? I mean, this is just between you and I.
Well, he was 6'5", 230.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
In his peak.
And he's got 9 kids. That type of stress.
Wow. Hopefully he's on slcfatloss.com.
But you see,
look, he's got to pass a physical, so I don't know. I haven't seen him lately. He played for the Colts in 2020, as you said, at age 39.
I'd feel comfortable.
Insane.
I'd feel comfortable with him coming in on the practice squad, like in the playoffs. Like, we need help
as a backup,
like as a possible backup. Like, do a little Eric Weddle,
Rivers.
Yeah.
Getting into a game this December.
It's crazy
for the Indianapolis Colts.
All right. Let's we got to get to our guy Cole Bagley, who's back in studio. Of course, we're here at John Watson Chevrolet in Ogden for the Player of the Week honors, KSL Sports, and John Watson Chevrolet, the Player of the Week honors for the Northern Utah side of the prep football. And man, there's going to be some superstars showing up. Man, it's going to be awesome. Cole Bagley on the program here with us. Cole, man, it was, I think, an 11-1 stretch after the 2 games that they had where they win 7-0 and 4-1, and then they end up in Calgary and the 2-0 loss. I was watching that game, and I know that Vitek had a good game. I thought he was fine between the pipes. You can't play your goalies every night, but at the same time, like, there was zero offense that night. It just seems like all the stuff that was going their way in those prior games wasn't happening in Calgary. So we were hoping they were going to finish 500 on the road. They didn't end up doing it. But what's changed with this team?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they found the back of the net. But to be honest, I don't know that anything's necessarily changed. Not to downplay those 2 wins, but, Vancouver's the worst team in the National Hockey League, and the Ducks were playing their 3rd and 4th string goaltenders. Again, there were good things that they did, and you like that there was actually energy. And that's something that we've talked about all season long is, whether this team wins or loses is very much dependent on them choosing to play a specific brand of hockey. Nate Schmidt even said that after the Flames loss. And, I believe that style is just an energetic style, a committed style, a communicative style. So, we'll see how these next few games go. Obviously, it's tough that they're going to be without Logan Cooley, but, I don't know that anything's changed just yet. I think that was, more so a response to, where they found themselves on the road trip. Bill Armstrong, sat the guys down after they lost in San Jose and said, enough's enough. We need to, it's playoffs or bust for us. We need to figure this out. So they responded well. I'm not, super high on that being a season, turning point for them, but we'll see how these next few games at home go.
Yeah, this team has had so many ups and downs and adversity and challenges, and now Cooley out. They said indefinitely. We have no idea. Do you think this is a more long-term thing or a more short-term thing based on what you know about the injury?
It's a tough question. Obviously all of this would be speculation. I would guess he's out maybe a little longer as opposed to shorter term. If you go back and if you watch especially that aerial view of his injury, his leg was doing all sorts of weird bending, along the post. And, if it was a broken bone, I think it would be obvious and we would know what was going on. To me, again, this is just my own speculation. Having, played the game, and actually I tore my own ACL playing hockey. Not to say that he's torn ACL, but I would guess it's more so a ligament, in his knee. Just with the way that leg bent, it did not look good.
So with that said, I mean, whether it's a week, a month, 2 months, whatever it is, they're going to be out with it. They're going to be without him for a while. How do they compensate for that loss? What do they do? Because that's a massive player to be missing out of your lineup, especially offensively with what he brings.
I mean, everybody else has to step up. I think the positive thing, if you will, is a lot of the guys on the team have been underperforming. Numbers are down pretty much across the board, amongst the top six. Dylan Guenther, Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz, JJ Peterka, Baird Hayton, like all of those players have not been playing up to expectations. And so there's at least room for growth. There's room for improvement, which is a positive. And if they can dig deep and they can, all step up, I think they'll be, I think they have an opportunity to be just fine. And then, they've got some young guys that have come up. Daniil Boot has looked really good in the 3 games that he's played. Still searching for that first goal, but I don't think it's going to take him very long just with the, his size, his frame, the game, the style that he plays, how much he, kind of hangs around the net and the shot that he has. I don't think it'll be much longer before he scores. And if he can, get on the board, every couple games, that'll be helpful. But to me, I look at guys like Keller and Guenther and Schmaltz, and, they really need to step up in light of Cooley being out, no matter how long it is. Whether it is, like you said, whether it is a week or 2 or whether it's a month or 2, those guys have got to step up here.
As you talked about these guys coming in, and there's a little bit of a function of, hey, we send guys down and bring a couple other guys up just for that punch in the gut for the whole team to kind of, maybe get a fire under them. And the energy level, it's crazy because people were wondering about the effort. Do you see the same thing when they were talking about, like, hey, this team's not trying hard enough? Like, in my mind, I'm like, I want to know what that indicates, not just wins and losses. Like, what is the thing that people look at and they go, there's not enough effort there?
Yeah, I think a lot of things. If you've listened to some of the post game interviews with the coaches and the players, it's the simple details in where their effort is not being exhausted. They're losing their battles. They're not, winning pucks, in behind the net. If they're dumping and chasing, they're not getting that puck back and reloading and, having sustained offensive zone possessions. They're not putting guys in front of the net. I picked apart their power play last week after, so they played Dallas,
Are they still worse in the league? That's the question.
I think they're either worse. They're either the worst or they're the second worst.
Yeah.
They were 5.7% over the month of November, which is just that is entirely unacceptable. But I compared their power play to Dallas, which they're the best in the league. They're scoring one almost every third power play. Dallas is putting the puck in the back of the net. So it's not exactly fair to compare in terms of performance, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to look at how Utah attacked on the power play as opposed to how Dallas attacked on the power play. And Dallas showed Utah exactly how to do it. They scored 2 power play goals against them last week when Utah was visiting on the road. And how they did that was they got bodies in front of the net. They got bodies to the net. They were rotating players, in their offensive set. They were, pulling defensemen up high and then, forcing forwards to cover down low. And obviously that's going to, create mismatches and whatnot. And that's exactly how Dallas scored 2 goals. Utah doesn't do enough of that. They get into their set and they just sit there. Keller's on the right wing, Gunther's on the left, and they just go back and forth between Sergachev and those 2 players, and it's predictable. And so, that to me is where effort is lacking, is just those small, minute details of winning your battles, being willing to go and play in the dirty areas, and just giving all that you have. I think the only players on this team that have really done that recently are Lawson Krause, Ian Cole, Michael Carcone, and Liam O'Brien. And, Vejmelka started to kind of get into a good groove. But, yeah, for me, that's where that effort is lacking.
All this team's been through, and I'm looking at the standings right now, and, yeah, it's still December. It's still early. But they're right in the mix. They're hanging on there. They're at 31 points with Edmonton and San Jose. They'd be in the wild card spot right now, which is better than they were last year at this time. Overall, big picture, is this team in a good spot right now considering what's ahead with the schedule? Probably lightening up a little bit. It's been pretty road heavy. Despite all the challenges, is this team still in a good place?
Yeah, the silver lining, as hard as we are on them and as much as we can pull things apart, they're in a good spot. They're arguably right where they the front office anticipated they would be. Given the division, there is no way that this team is going to take one of those 3 spots. Colorado is far and away the best team in the National Hockey League. Dallas isn't too far behind, and Minnesota has started to kind of gain some traction. So, for
well, it's
Utah,
kind of interesting.
Go ahead.
It's kind of interesting. One thing that I was looking at with that, because it's all that 7-game win streak that ruined us, right? Like, yeah. If they got to this record in a different way, we probably would be speaking about this differently. Same
100%.
Exact record, we would talk about it differently because the 7-game win streak.
It's just been the swings have been so high and so low.
I know.
That you emotionally, I get what fans are going through right now. You emotionally go through those swings, and I think that's what they're experiencing. You weren't finishing with your point, Cole.
Sorry,
I know it's a great observation that a lot of this, you're right, is tied to that 7-game win streak and just the massive highs and the massive lows that this team's been through over the last few months.
Yeah, the journey to this point is what's worrisome, is the fact that, they ripped off 7 in a row, and then I think they only won 3 of 12, and then it was like 5 of the last 18. That's where you start to worry a little bit, is they were so hot and then just completely cooled off. But like I said, the silver lining, they've got 31 points. They're in the second wildcard spot. With a win tonight, they can surpass Edmonton and jump into that first wildcard spot. Now, of course, Edmonton will have an opportunity to retake it tomorrow. But that's like they're 14, 13, and 3. And I bet if you were to look at the front office, back in September and say, hey, you're going to be 14, 13, and 3, early in December, you're going to be in the second wildcard spot. They'd go, we'll take that. Now, like I said, it's the journey that's a little worrisome, and they've got to get things figured out, because right now it's not necessarily trending in a great direction. Now, they are 4-6 over their last 10, as opposed to I think they were like 2-8 over the previous. So, this is a fragile time of the year. This is when teams really kind of start to figure out who they are, and playoff hopes either die or continue to live on. So yeah, this is a critical month, and luckily the schedule does clear up and ease up in January. So a lot of positives and some opportunity here for them to figure things out.
Kings come into town tonight. Delta Center will be hopefully rocking with a lot of fans who've been excited to get them back after a long road trip. What does this Kings team look like, and what can the Mammoth do here at home, back on their own home ice against the Kings tonight?
This is a Kings team that's very good on the road. They're 9-2-4. They've actually struggled, quite a bit at home. But at the same time, it feels like everybody in the National Hockey League is just going through extreme highs and lows. They're 4-3-3 over their last 10, and so I think it's going to be a fairly even battle. These are two teams trying to figure things out. Utah's been very good at home. They're 7-3-1. But then again, like I said, LA has been able to win a lot of road games. So I would expect a highly contested matchup of two teams trying to just gather some points, because LA is only 2 points ahead of Utah right now. Obviously, they're in different divisions, but points are precious at this point in the year, like I was talking about, and I expect we're going to see two teams who are just battling to make sure that they get 2 tonight.
The Avs, by the way, I was just looking at this, Cole, and it's crazy. The Avalanche have 115 goals on the season. The Mammoth are at 90. Like, that's a scoring machine. Like that's who you're up against in this division. Like, really, and the two of the highest scoring teams in the entire NHL are the Avs and the Dallas Stars. Like, these are the teams that
those
they're
are
up
the two
against.
highest.
And the Ducks have 107.
Oh yeah, of course. The Ducks, just like where we thought everybody was going to be, Cole, right? Like the Anaheim Ducks.
You had enough problems. Now the Ducks are good?
Yeah, scoring 100.
The craziest part of that,
already, yeah.
The craziest part of that goal, those goals is, Colorado's goal differential right now is plus 49.
Yeah, that's insane.
That is 21 more than the next team, who's actually Dallas at plus 28. ridiculous.
They're beating the brakes off these teams.
If Colorado doesn't win the Cup, it is the biggest choke job in the history of sports.
They have just 2 regulation losses.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. So
It's almost 2026.
Darn it. That's who you're up against in this division. No problem. No sweat. Yeah, it'll be fine. Cole, puck drops at 7 tonight, 6 o'clock pregame on the KSL Sports Zone, yes?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks for hanging out, man. We appreciate it and all the work you do. Love reading the hat trick. Every time it comes out, I'm like, it's my first notification that comes to the phone after the game, and I'm like, I got to see what Cole said about this.
Well, make sure you guys are here next time I'm in studio. I show up, and you guys aren't even here to hang out. So I'm sitting in JJ's chair.
Are you just spinning around?
Yep, just
spinning in circles?
Yep.
All right. Cole, we appreciate it, man. Thanks. Have a great evening.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. We'll take a break. We are at John Watson Chevrolet right here in Ogden. The Player of the Week honor is going to be handed out tonight. It's bigger than it's ever been. The pizza is on the way. It's going to be phenomenal. You guys are going to love it. And so we've got tons going on. Stay here with us, 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone.
The exclusive home of the Utah Mammoth is on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Stenlund wins this one back. Mammoth shoot it at the empty net and score. John Marino splits the uprights, and it's 4-1. John Marino retreating into his own zone as Mikhail Sergachev gets to a puck behind his own net. Wraparound try in front, and they score! Calgary lights the lamp 16 seconds in. He can't quite get a shot at the empty net, but Zary hits it. And it's been a night of frustrations for the Utah Mammoth. Connor Zary hits the empty net with 2:14 to go in the third.
You're locked into JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Is that the sound of a puck hitting a post? Is that what that sound is? It's like pa-ching.
Yeah.
I love it. We just had Cole Bagley on. Anytime Cole comes on and talks about our Utah Mammoth, it's all brought to you by the folks at Hercules First Federal Credit Union. Appreciate him coming on and hanging out with us. And yeah, I think there's a lot of nerves right now across the street at Delta Center. I mean, we're up here at the John Watson Chevrolet, but obviously it's nerves right now for this team, and they've got to try to figure some things out and make it happen. Couple reminders. First, Hans and Scotty on Wednesday are going to be at RGS Exteriors. Go check them out there in person, noon to 3 with Hans and Scotty at RGS Exteriors. And also, this is going to be good. This is the first time I've ever done this with Jake in person here.
Yeah.
So Jake Hatch, by the way, joining us on the program. Yak, nice enough to hang out because this is kind of a program near and dear to his heart. And he knows if there's somebody who knows all these players, it's Hatch, and he knows these kids and their stats and you do a great job putting this stuff together, man. That's a lot of work for you, so congrats.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It's fun.
It is fun. And, we were just chatting off of the air because every Monday, if you listen to DJ and PK in the morning, every once in a while I'll catch it while I'm out and about, and I'll go, I don't need to ask Hatch what the play of the week is. But the Rocky Mountain Chevy Dealers play of the week brought to you by your Rocky Mountain Chevy Dealers. And here's what you've got. They give out the play, and then I give out the phone number now, and you tell me what it is, and then you win a prize. 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. Any clues that you want to give our illustrious listeners out there?
So we're up here at John Watson Chevrolet for the Northern Utah High School Player of the Week, and these are the best high school players in football that we're honoring tonight. This player that had the play this week is what PK calls the best high school player ever in Utah high school football history.
Wow.
So,
and a play that this person made?
Yesterday, yeah.
Okay. Ooh, I could am I eligible?
Sure, why not?
I'm going to call Alex during the break here. Am I calling number 12? Nablus, it's me. Am I 12? Come on. No, I think I know what's going on. I like it. That's a great pick. Before we get to some football here, and we'll talk a little bit, I haven't gotten your thoughts. I always love it because you were down in Texas, yes?
I was in Dallas, yep. AT&T Stadium.
Was it as ugly in person as we thought?
Speaking of the game itself, yes, it was as ugly in person as it. But talk about the facilities. AT&T Stadium's still a gold standard, even though it's almost 20 years old, that facility. It's crazy to think it's that old. I toured it, actually, funny enough, in 2008, Alex, right before it opened. Remember, BYU played the first ever game in there against Oklahoma in 08. Yeah. I was working down there that summer. We went and toured it before it opened. So it's crazy to think that I was there in 2008. I went back for Big 12 Media Days in 2023. It's an incredible facility, but the game itself, yeah, that was not pretty.
What went wrong? I mean, the turnovers were the biggest thing, I think,
sure,
because that's the thing that made it kind of feel like the pile-on because they gave them short fields and things. But where was the breakdown there of the preparation for this Texas Tech team and wanting to get them back and then falling short, even further short this time around?
Well, quite frankly, it's kind of the same story of what happened in Lubbock. They just couldn't block the front for Texas Tech. The story, I think, was from CBS Sports. Texas Tech spent more than $7 million on their defensive front. The defensive front line, they're talking to David Bagley, Romello Height, Lee Hunter. They spent more than $7 million getting those guys in place.
A good chunk of it was just David Bailey.
Correct. And the point to be made there is that, according to this report from CBS Sports, if I've got the outlet right, BYU's entire roster, $10 million this past season. So that should show you, like, they invested heavily on that defensive front, and BYU, their front line, and it's nothing against BYU's offensive line because they've done this to everybody they have played, speaking of Texas Tech. But BYU could not block a four-man rush.
What does $10 to $15 million potentially for NIL money do for Kalani Sitake?
Well, hopefully it means a much better outcome when you go up against the likes of a Texas Tech, because in theory you should go invest that along the front lines, because I don't think Kalani's blind. I think he looks across that field at Texas Tech and says, the makeup of that roster is what we need in Provo, Utah. Like, that's where that money's going to have to be invested, is especially in the trenches. Now, obviously you want to have elite skill talent. You need wide receivers. You need guys like running backs. LJ Martin is obviously a big question mark if he might bolt for the NFL this offseason.
What's your gut feeling on that?
I think he bolts, because when you're the offensive player of the year in the season he's had, we all know that the NFL stands for not for long, especially in the case of running backs.
Yeah, you got to strike while the iron's hot, right?
Yeah.
And man, that would be a massive blow. Him coming back.
Yeah.
But what if $1 million is coming?
Well, sure, and that's the thing. Can you make it worth his while via NIL and the revenue share hey, you may be a mid-round pick. That's what you're slated to make in this. Can we match it essentially with NIL?
Or we'll beat it by $100,000 or $200,000.
Sure.
And there we are.
And that'll be a conversation that'll be happening, I'm sure, very, very quickly. Probably already, if it hasn't already happened, it's probably coming very soon. But to your point, Alex, that reported $10 to $15 million on top of that revenue share for BYU. Kalani Sitake wasn't dumb when he went into this negotiation with BYU. He understands he needs funds to be able to go out and attract top-tier talent. Now, they do have to abide by BYU standards, obviously the honor code and the like, but he's proven to be able to bring in nice pieces for this team. I think the next step is to be able to match the type of athletes, at least in theory, that a Texas Tech has.
Let's talk a little bit about the college football playoff. You and I haven't been able to jam on it, but I don't know. I have had a hard time articulating how I feel about it, because after that game, I didn't feel like BYU deserved to be in, or like it just felt like what a hard position to be in.
Oh, yeah.
To punch up and be like, oh, no, we're down here still. And
sure.
They were already behind the 8 ball. And so I wondered what your thoughts were as to, and obviously the players are going to say, we deserve to be there, but it almost feels like a marketing campaign. When these players were asked about it, and you saw kind of some of the reactions, Parker Kingston was like pretty active on social media going after it.
Yeah.
What's the feeling in that locker room? Like, Kalani obviously knows you win that game and you don't have to have this discussion.
Correct.
But were they pushing more and more still? I know that Brian Santiago did it on Friday and Thursday, but was it happening as much from the administration after that game on Saturday?
It wasn't, and I was kind of disappointed, and that comes from both BYU and the Big 12 side of things.
I thought Brett Yormark was totally lame. Well, no, I thought it was just not a lot of showing up for the conference, man.
So I'll reiterate something, a point I've made a couple of times already in the lead-up to this, is I felt like BYU and the Big 12 in particular needed to speak out earlier, especially when the groundwork was laid for BYU being downgraded.
Yes.
Like, we're talking like week 2 of those rankings. They need to start speaking out. The issue was, remember that statement that came out from Brett Yormark says, we plan to earn it on the field. You remember that statement?
Yes.
That sounded tone deaf because, as I said, you can earn it on the field, but the problem is if you can't get into the playoff field, how do you earn it?
Well, and by the way, 11-1 feels like they've earned it on the field.
You'd think so.
And that's why I think that they were like, oh, that'll speak for itself. Look at
sure.
Are there metrics that we're not seeing that these guys use? Because it seems like they're just kind of going off of whatever the heck they want in that room in that exact moment.
You nailed it.
Team to team.
Hunter Yurachek, who's standing in for Mac Rhodes now.
He's been a disaster for that. And he's filling in, I get it. But
he looks like he is scared of being on air every time he's up there. I'm dead serious.
He should be. And you know what?
There's a far more crass term I want to use to describe the way he operates, but I can't say that on air. But you're right. The issue is that the playoff committee is justifying whatever they need to. They use whatever metric they have. Hans Olsen used a great analogy for this on the post-game show on Saturday. Is he talked about how radio ratings, you know how we get those radio ratings? You can use radio ratings to justify anything.
Right.
You can find a demographic of no matter how big or small it is to justify you being number one in whatever parameter you want it to be. That's what it feels like this playoff committee has done. They want X number of teams, whatever teams they want to have in the field. They will use whatever numbers benefit them. So the funny thing is the college basketball selection committee, remember, they have like the net rating, and they go by they have what they call quality losses, quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, quad 4 with your wins and losses.
Sure.
That stuff, they've structured it where they look at those numbers, and that tells them exactly where to slot teams. The playoff committee doesn't have anything.
They have
like
zero,
that.
and I wonder if you can do it at that. If there's a style or a version of that, we've talked about what those ratings look like because the reality is that when they would make the explanations, everyone would go, "What now?" And like when he started talking about that Auburn game, and it's like, "Oh man, what a great conversion on 4th and 2 against a pretty tough Auburn team at home." They had lost all 4 home games.
Yeah.
No, in the SEC, and he's like, "Well, this is a tough team." I just don't get where some of this is going, except for I know what it is, and just say it.
Yeah.
So instead of doing the thing where they make up stuff and pretend and just leave them out, leave BYU and Utah out of that conversation early on in the.
Sure.
As soon as you saw how far back they were in the early rankings, you were like, "Oh, they are not making an effort at all with these guys." So
they don't need to be like belligerent about it, but they needed to speak out earlier.
Okay, let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got more to go around the corner. We've got hockey coming up at the top of the hour. The Utah Mammoth taking on the LA Kings at Delta Center. Lots going on with that one, and we will get you ready. We've got a best and worst that we're going to do quickly next, and we're going to get you out and get you to that hockey pregame right here on DKSL Sports Zone. Stay with us.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
Welcome back. Thanks for being with us on the program. Awesome time for us today here at John Watson Chevrolet. Our best and worst is always brought to you by the good folks at Doug Smith, another one of our friends in the car dealership industry. Doug Smith in American Fork, Spanish Fork, and in Linden. Go check him out. Best and worst, we're going to turn the time over to Emmett White. Now, we're not going to give him the whole – I'm not going to force you to speak to us, but he's speaking to the young kids tonight at the banquet tonight for the Northern Utah Player of the Week honors. Former All-American, Hall of Fame member up at Utah State. And how big of a deal is it to get in front of these kids and say some things to them? Do you enjoy doing that?
Oh, man, truly enjoy it. It's a privilege, to still be able to come back and speak to the kids. Just because, I was one of them before, sat in seats, watched people talk also. So, now to be able to flip it and be the person speaking to them, it's a lot of pressure, actually, a little bit.
Well, and you've stayed involved because you're training kind of that next generation of athletes up this way, if I'm not mistaken. Like, how has that been a concerted effort on your part to stay involved with the youth football movement?
Yeah, I mean, training-wise, we train, all sports, but obviously football being the niche.
Yeah.
So we've had some other great people, the Vigils, Pascal, some different people, Marcus Kemp, guys from this northern area that have.
I think the Vigils were at this very party years ago, right?
So, pull back the curtain. I've done this for the last, 12 years, and we've had the Vigil boys here. They've won awards and whatnot, and it's crazy to watch them go on and play in the NFL. But that's the fun part about it. You're seeing kind of the next generation of these great athletes. Trayden Bessinger, for example, was here earlier.
Yeah.
You signed with Iowa. So you're looking at some of the next kind of crop of talent that we're going to see rise up.
Yeah, no, and it's always good to be around those guys and to see this group is actually a very talented group because some of them a lot of them are getting some of these national honors where the Vigils, different people weren't necessarily on that level, but
they have the
just
same
continue
talent.
to develop.
We've gotten so much better at propping these kids up, I think, nowadays, and being like, they're right there with a lot of these other. You always think Florida, Texas, and California. And it's like, no, these guys, they got ballers here in the state of Utah too at the prep level. They got some exceptional athletes, and they've got so much to deal with now too.
Yeah.
You think about these guys coming at them and all the things they have to deal with. What's something you want to say about the adversity that kids face and how to kind of overcome it?
You know what? I couldn't. That's a tough one because I couldn't imagine, the dollar figures and the things that these kids now deal with.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Before it was just you played football, you worked your butt off. You just got on the field and played, and that was your way to continue getting bigger was your way if you wanted to say to make money. Now you can start to say yourself early. So.
Emmett White, Utah State, great. Appreciate you jumping on the program and giving us some words, man. Yeah, I love it. I love it. So good luck tonight. Look, we warmed you up. It's fine. You're going to be fine tonight because we warmed you up. We got you talking to the radio audience. I think it's good. All right. Utah Mammoth hockey coming right up right here on the KSL Sports Zone. You don't want to miss it. The puck drops at 7 o'clock, but listen right here. Many thanks to John Watson Chevrolet again for sponsoring this great event. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.